to see if you suffer from lips. So I wrote a newsletter this past week. This is for those of you who aren't familiar. This is what I do. I write a newsletter that comes out on Thursdays, as I mentioned, and then the following Monday, 95 or 99% of the time that following Monday, we dive in deeper to the topic that was in the newsletter the previous Thursday. And so this past week, I wrote about the whole idea of living in pursuit. And some of you have heard me mention that on these talks before, or if we have worked privately in a coaching capacity, about how exciting it can be to live in pursuit of something, and sometimes so exciting that it stops you from actually ever taking action to make it happen. So, what I wrote about in my newsletter, the example I gave for me is, when I think about planning a trip or going someplace really exciting, if I'm planning a big trip, and big means I have to fly, I get really excited at the idea, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so fun. I love checking out all the places I can stay and any, sights I can see, any kind of cool things that go on there. And I love investigating the idea of that trip, what I'm going to do when I get there and how amazing it's going to be. I get super, super excited about the idea of going on the trip. And so that's that kind of like, I'm planning it, so it's exciting, right? Then as it gets closer, I get a little bit nervous. I'm a little bit of an anxious flyer. So I'm like, in theory, that was exciting, but now that it's closer, I'm not sure if it is so much. I'm going to pause just for a second because I realized I left my window open, and I want to make sure you're not hearing any noise. All right, there we go. Now I have peace too. So as it gets closer, I'm like, oh shit, oh crap. I have to really do this. I have to get on that plane. So, I'm a little bit of a control freak, a little bit. So something about a stranger in the front of a metal tube controlling my life is a little bit nerve-wracking. But it has nothing to do with flying or the pilot's ability. It's just my own anxiety and fear. That's how my anxiety manifests. So as the day gets closer, I start to get anxious and I think, oh my God, what was I thinking? I wish I never booked this trip. But I've always told myself I won't ever let my fear of flying stop me from going places. There's way too many cool places in the world to see. So not going is not an option for me. So I just find different ways to take care of myself when I'm actually going to take that step, not just live in pursuit of going on that trip, but actually going on it. And so I've done everything from tapping, the EFT, emotional freedom technique, lots of different ways. I've educated myself on how planes fly, and I've taken like an online course with a pilot, and I know it's so completely safe that I know that my anxiety has little to do with that and more to do with me just feeling vulnerable. But every time that I get myself to get on that plane and I get to this destination and I have an amazing time, I'm so thankful that I didn't let the fear stop me and that I didn't just live in pursuit, that I actually went, because I'm always so grateful that I did. So that's, going to talk a little bit about that tonight, about, how although it can be exciting to talk about doing something, it really is, despite any fear that you feel, it really is more exciting to actually do it. So, if you think about, so I'm going to talk a little bit about like kind of what happens in your body when you are excited about doing something. Hey, Kristen, welcome. So I wrote this in the newsletter as well, that, I talked about the happiness hormones, right? So we hear a lot about like serotonin and endorphin levels and dopamine levels. So when you're thinking about planning, talking about something that's really cool, it gives you that boost, right? Like, how it's so fun to like talk to someone about the exciting things you're going to do. Like, oh man, I'm going to do this and I can't wait to do that. And you can get a real rush just by talking about it, because your body doesn't really know the difference between talking about something and actually doing it. So when you talk about it, you get a rush. Those happiness hormones skyrocket. Your dopamine levels, serotonin, endorphins, are just firing like crazy, and you're feeling like so amazing and plugged in and excited. And then after the conversation ends, and you go back to life as you know it, and you don't take any action to actually do what you were just talking about, you then crash. All those levels crash because there's nothing feeding them anymore. And so it can almost be like a sugar rush, right? You know, when you like eat sugar and it spikes and then you crash. Similar to this, when you're living in pursuit, when you're talking a lot about doing something but never actually doing it, you can have those same kind of feelings, but it's just that the dopamine, the serotonin, etc. spike when you're talking about it because you're so excited, but then when it doesn't actually happen, it crashes. And so we can sometimes get a little bit addicted to that fix, right? It's like, if, you know, when we start to feel a little fed up in life, maybe a little stuck, a little bored, just a little blah, you know, sometimes we can talk about something that's really exciting, even if it's not healthy. So sometimes if we're feeling, like some people I know we all know people like this, who are fueled by drama, who love drama. And so if they're feeling fed up or stuck or complacent in life, they may get fed by like the news or gossip or, you know, something like that. Just something to make those levels shoot up, but then they crash again. So the difference, the important distinction here is when you talk about doing something versus actually doing it, the doing it sustains those levels longer. Not only does it sustain those levels longer, but when you recall what you did, you get those levels raised again, but in a healthy, gentle way instead of that spike, right? And then you get to sustain it. So, like I know for me, when I talk about, you know, how Melissa and I spent our 40th birthdays in Italy, that's something that I can still feel those neurotransmitters and those hormones like rise up, and I can feel good about it, but I don't feel that spike because it's something I actually did. So it's like my general happiness factor increases, and it hangs out there for a while as I revisit and remember those 2 special weeks and everything that we did. That experience is a part of me now. It's not something that can go away. So I get to hearken back to it and reach back to it and enjoy it all over again. Versus had we just talked about going to Italy for our birthdays and never actually done it, thinking back to that birthday, I'd be thinking back to it with disappointment, maybe some sadness. So you want to be really careful with how much you talk about doing something versus actually doing it. But we can, and I know I've mentioned this before, when we get excited about living in pursuit, that's that whole idea of I'll start my diet on Monday. That's living in pursuit. We get an excitement of like, oh my God, I can't wait. You know, starting Monday, I'm going to feel so much better, and my clothes are going to fit better, and I'm going to like how I look better. You know, it's almost, we can get that rush, right? Like, oh my God, it's going to be great. And then Monday comes and it's like, but I want a cookie, you know? So it becomes, the doing it is not quite as fun as the talking about it. But if there's something that you talk about that really lights you up, it's important to pay attention to, because clearly there's something in there that is really striking a nerve for you. So if you talk about something that lights you up, it's an indicator of some dream that lives within, or some desire to make a change, improve your life, shake things up, whatever it is. So it's so important to pay attention to, what is it that I find myself talking a lot about? Or, you know, I'll work with clients a lot who, you know, get so tripped up, and I get it, in this whole, like, I don't know what my passion is. You know, there's all this pressure of, like, find what you're passionate about. When it's like, you know what, it doesn't have to be that difficult. Like, ask yourself, what's a topic of conversation that you get really jazzed about? Or is there someone in your life who you know, even if you don't know them personally, who you know or know of, who's doing something that you think is really cool, and that you find yourself wanting to read about or watch videos about or talk to them about? Those are great indicators that there's something in there for you. Now, it might not mean you want to do exactly what they're doing, but you want to look at what is it about what they're doing that lights you up so much. And then you can figure out how to incorporate that into your own personal life. So when you think about that kind of like brainstorming of what is it that I would really love to do, like if at any point I'm feeling just kind of blah in my life, or just kind of like, meh, things are okay, but they're not great. How can you stir things up? How can you mix things up? And so, I put some steps in my newsletter this past week about like a quick little exercise you can do, because what we want to do is we want your action muscle to get stronger than your talking muscle. We want you doing more, talking less about what you're going to do. So it's 3 little steps. So I'll just, review them here so you guys can hear it as well. Although I have no idea why you're not reading my newsletter. CarrieRichardson.com. My cucumber lemon water. So spend 15 to 20 minutes brainstorming what steps you could take to make your often talked about dream a reality. Just like a 15-minute brain dump. Just dump it down. Like, what could I actually do if I really wanted to make that dream a reality? Whatever that dream is, if you really wanted to make that a reality, what are some steps you could do to make that happen? Just brainstorm. So now look at that list that you brainstormed. After you've done that, look at it and identify which things on that list are immediately doable. Which things on that list could you take action on right away? Now, it's a little bit of a trick question because chances are most of them won't fit that bill. When we do a brainstorm like this or a mind dump, we tend to dump out the big things. I could, stop, I could only eat salad for the rest of my life and then I'll lose weight. Like, we tend to write down the big steps instead of the small steps. So look at your brain dump. If every step feels like way too big, then break them down. So find one on there, one that you wrote down that sounds like that would be a really good step, but I don't really have it in me to actually take that step. Break that step down. And I always, I use this and I tell my clients this, to break down a task, just ask yourself, okay, if I were to take this action, what is one small step I can take toward completing that action? And then write that down. If it still feels too big, ask it again. Okay, so now what's one step I can take toward finishing that? Okay, now what's one step I can take toward that? And you keep backing into it until the task is so doable, you could knock it out in like 5 or 10 minutes. That's where you want to go. It's those small, consistent steps that will get you where you want to go versus expecting ourselves to take these big leaps and these big jumps, which we just don't do. And even if we do take the big jumps, it's not sustainable. Very rarely is it sustainable. So you might take a big jump when you really needed to build the bridge. So the bridge is built by small steps. So looking at that brain dump of, the 10 or 15 minute brain dump you did about the steps you could take to make that thing that you talk about a lot a reality, and then looking at those things that you wrote down and identifying the one you're going to start with, and then your first step is to break that down. Then you have your nice small step that you're going to take, right? You're going to take a nice small step that'll take you maybe 10 minutes. And if you can't take that step immediately, upon identification of it, schedule it in your calendar. Make it important like any other appointment. Schedule it in there. It just ups your chances of actually doing it. And something about writing it down, committing it somewhere, makes it more significant in your life, makes it more important. And if you even want to take it a step further, you could share with someone in your life who you trust the step you're going to take and when you're going to take it. Hey, I could use some accountability here. Just wanted to let you know that I've committed to myself that on Wednesday I'm going to blank. Would you mind, would it be possible for you to check in with me? Or would you mind if I shot you an email to just say, hey, remember that thing I was talking about? I actually did it. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to respond. If you want to just respond and say, yay, you, that would be great. Like, if there's some place, that's how you can kick it up an extra notch, is to commit it to somebody and then follow through with them and say, hey, P.S., I did it. I do that with my clients all the time. If they tell me they're going to do something and we come up with an action step, I'll say to them, great, when are you going to do that by? We make sure it's small enough. When are you going to do that by? And then, okay, send me an email once you have it done so I know that you've done it. And then I put a note on my calendar as a reminder, so if I don't hear from them, I email them and go, hey, haven't heard from you. How did blank go? And just to let them know, like, hey, someone out here gives a shit and cares about you and wants you to make progress, so I'm holding space for you. Like, let me know how it's going. And they can either write back and go, oh my God, I totally forgot, or, thank you so much for checking up on me, I didn't do it, and here's why, or whatever. Or, yeah, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't email you. I totally did it. I'm so excited. So it can be really nice to know that someone is out there holding space for you. So brainstorming your steps, breaking them down into very doable steps, and then either doing the first one right away, or if you can't, scheduling a time for when you can, and making sure you follow through on that commitment. I think that everyone, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments, what is something that you've been talking about but haven't really taken any action on? Go ahead and put it in the comments. What is something that you've talked about but haven't really taken a lot of action on, and you either like beat yourself up for it, or you're sick of hearing yourself say it. Whatever it is, go ahead and put it in the comments. Would love to hear what some of you have to say. I'm just making sure I can see the comments when they do come up. I'm just looking back here, Kathy. Yes, birthday weeks are the best. Totally agree. Catching up on comments. Sorry. Thanks, Marianne, for the congrats. I'm really excited to be part of that lineup for sure. Running on adrenaline. Yeah. Yup. Okay. Oh, I didn't even see. Sorry, I'm backing up way back here. Liam Reilly, your dad watched Vinny by himself. Woohoo! Awesome. Okay, now I'm not getting... Okay, Kathy, here we go. Losing weight is what I hadn't accomplished. Okay, so that's something you talk a lot about, Kathy, but you don't take action on? Hey, Gallo. I've been talking about doing my Certified Payroll Professional certification and exam, but kept procrastinating. Finally signed up today, even though my first class is while I'm on vacation. Who cares? You signed up. Like, that's just it. Like, and I'm going to circle back around to you, Kathy. So, signing up for the exam, which congratulations for doing that. Signing up for the exam is a huge testament toward your commitment to get it done. So when you put that kind of energy toward what you say you want to do, the universe responds in kind. So even though the first class is while you're on vacation, there you go. You're doing the class from Ireland. Like, that's commitment. Like, that's awesome. It's awesome that you didn't let that stop you from signing up for it, that it conflicted with your vacation. When we put action behind our intention, man, the universe responds. So, good for you, Lisa. Sweet. Kathy, need to lose 75 plus pounds. So, yeah, losing weight is something you've been talking about but haven't done. So, I think this exercise would be great for you, Kathy. Do a brain dump of what are the steps you could take to start to take action on your intention or desire to lose weight, and choose one to start with. So your brain dump might say something like, clean out my fridge of high-fat foods, let's say, or meal plan for the week. Meal plan some healthy options for the week, or look up some recipes. These are some examples of what you might dump out. Hey, Linz. What you might dump out. So, whatever it is, just make a list of any and all steps. And again, they don't even have to be like logical. They can be, but just empty your brain into anything that you can do to put some action behind that intention. Once you have that brainstormed list, which is, ever evolving, but look at that initial list and go, okay, what's the first thing I'm going to do? Well, I think the first thing I'm going to do is look up some recipes, and I'm going to find 3 dinner recipes that are healthy and that I think sound really good. I mean, we're so lucky to have so many things at our fingertips, right? So Kathy, yesterday I shredded half of my filing paperwork and went biking for the first time in 10 plus years. Oh my God, Kathy. It felt great to accomplish these two things. I agree with the steady stream of energy from doing it instead of just talking about it. Good for you. That's amazing. Biking for the first time in over 10 years. Like, talk about action. So you're not just talking about it, you're doing it. And let me just say, I mean, for those of you who don't know my whole thoughts around clutter, you shredded half of your filing paperwork. That's a lot of weight you lost right there. Energetically, you got rid of so much weight from shredding that paperwork that, you know, shredding that paperwork is absolutely going to help you take more action around your intention to lose weight. Oh, so you used to bike daily. Yeah, and now you're getting back to it. It's awesome. So I really, it's important for you to see that combination, that correlation between shredding that paperwork and your desire to lose weight. Sometimes we don't realize that things that we do that seem completely unrelated to our goals at hand actually pertain to it more than you could ever know. That's my whole thing with clutter, is when we learn to eliminate clutter, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever it is, when we get rid of some clutter, we open up space for energy to flow more easily, for opportunities to come our way, when our channels aren't so clogged with stuff, with draining relationships, whatever it is, we are so much more available to make moves toward these goals that we've been talking about forever. So I'm so happy for you, Kathy. Good job. Yeah, opening room for new opportunities in health. Love it. Hey, Trish. Eating healthy and getting back to working out regularly. The good news is I worked out twice today. Good for you. I've been eating better, cooking healthy in the last few days. Also food prep. Awesome, Trish. Wow, you are taking some serious action. Fantastic. Ah, it's so good. Isn't it great, Trish? Like, there's so many resources out there now, like healthy eating Facebook groups and recipes, and there's so much out there. And then the working out. I mean, it always, you know, I had slacked off on working out for quite some time, and while I'm certainly not back to it, some stuff that Melissa and I have been doing, either working on the tiny house or doing some other things, it's amazing how fast you can feel strong again or on the road to strength again. So, and emotionally, it's such a boost, right? Talk about, you know, exercise is like doing it instead of talking about it, right? It gets those happiness hormone levels up and they sustain, which is really cool. So good for you. Worked out twice today. So you worked out once for me. See, I didn't even have to work out. Thanks, Trish. Appreciate that. So Kathy realized that she's been ignoring her intuition for too long. Yeah, your intuition is going to really get fine-tuned, Kathy, the more clutter you remove. And weight is clutter. You know, I always say that weight on our body is clutter. You know, I know for me, when the increase of my weight is directly proportionate to when something is out of alignment in my life. So this is clutter. You know, weight on the body is clutter. So it's like, treat it like any other type of clutter. Like, why is this clutter in my life? What purpose is it serving? What role is it playing? When you figure out the role that your clutter is serving in your life, you can then find a healthier way to get that need met or to heal that part that needs healing. And then the clutter is so much more easy to get rid of. So, it's awesome. Great job. What else have you all been, those of you who I haven't heard from, that you've been talking about but not doing? I'm trying to think of another example in my life. What have I been talking about? Definitely been talking about exercising more and not doing it. But you know what? I actually haven't even been talking about it much. So I guess that doesn't pertain. Mm-hmm. I'm drinking good water. And something, right? Okay. I'm going through the comments here. Have I missed anything, Melissa?
Nope.
Okay, good. Yay, I'm caught up. I don't want to miss anybody. Okay, good. Let me make sure I get things in my notes here. Yeah, so pay attention in your life. When do you tend to go for that high? I'm just going to pause. Trish, this is just cucumber and lemons in filtered water. So it's a nice anti-inflammatory, and it just makes, I love cucumber water. It makes me feel like I'm at a spa. But yeah, it's just cucumber and lemon. In the past, I've put fresh mint in it as well. I just don't have any. Yeah, it's yummy. It's just very refreshing. Makes me drink more water. It's got a little flavor to it. Sure. You're welcome. So, pay attention in your life when you go for that high. Like, I'm thinking about someone in my life who I know, and he tends to talk a lot. He talks a lot about what he's going to do. Doesn't often do a lot of it, but I can see that when he talks about that stuff, it's when he's feeling particularly fed up with an aspect of his life, or he's feeling maybe trapped, maybe a little hopeless. He tends to talk about these big things he's going to do. And, it's almost kind of like a running joke now that he talks about it and doesn't do it. But from the compassionate standpoint, I can look and go, he tends to go there when he's feeling unhappy about something. And so pay attention to when you go to that place. And instead of using it as an opportunity to spike those happiness hormones very temporarily, stop and ask yourself, okay, what kind of escapism am I looking for here? Where am I looking to take my mind? What am I trying to run away from in my mind when I'm talking about, I can't wait to do this and I'm going to do that? I mean, don't get me wrong. Sometimes it's really fun and exciting to talk about the things you're going to do or the places you're going to go. Like, I'm not saying don't do that, absolutely. But if you do that and you never follow it up with action, that's when you want to take a closer look. Because then that just becomes a different form of clutter, right? You're cluttering up your life with this chatter about what you're going to do instead of actually doing it. So look and see what is stopping you from taking those action steps. If after you do your brain dump and you brainstorm some of the steps that you can take and you're still not taking them, then your next step is to really look at, okay, why aren't I taking these steps? What's the payout to me talking about this but not actually doing anything about it? Very common stuff is you might be saving yourself from risking failure or fear that what you dream of isn't as great as you think it is. Whatever it might be, like really think about, why aren't I doing those things that I say I want to do? And what payout am I getting from not doing them? Okay. So Lisa, tell Melissa we need to plan that whitewater rafting trip. Time to take action, yes. Melissa's been wanting to go whitewater rafting for about as long as I've known her. I'm a little bit of a chicken, although I'd probably do it. It's one of those stretch zone adventure things. And she and Lisa, yep, she just wrote, I'm so in. I've been talking about doing it. So, yeah, see, this is an example where, like, yeah, I think I would do whitewater rafting. And then when it got closer, I'd probably chicken out. But I won't because, again, setting myself up for success. If I'm going to do something like that, that's out of my comfort zone, but also something that sounds fun and exciting, then I want to do it with people that I feel safe with, that I can be vulnerable around and feel like they can hold a safe space for me. And Lisa and Melissa are definitely two of those people, so I would do it. Oh, actually, maybe I can't do it because I haven't had LASIK. Never mind. I just saw Lisa said, she had the LASIK done so she could have do this, but I'll just close my eyes so my contacts don't go flying out. Yeah, Gabe will be backing me up too. Good. Sweet. So Kimberly, blogging, great ideas, but don't seem to get to it. Yeah, so Kimberly, ask yourself, like, what stops you from taking action? My guess is that your steps are too big. If you're saying you want to blog, but you don't seem to get to it, and I think this is really common with people who want to blog, they think, I want to blog, published blog. They don't think about all the steps in between. So ask yourself, what is stopping you from taking that action to actually start blogging? Do that brain dump and see what's getting in your way. So, Kimberly, if I were to ask you, what's your very first step to taking action on your blogging intention? What's one idea that comes to mind? And when you think of it, go ahead and put it in the comments. Just making sure I didn't miss anything else here. Yeah, so what is one step you could take? What's the very first step you could take, Kimberly, to get going on your blog? And go ahead and put that in the comments section, which hopefully will show up. It's weird. Sometimes comments show up, sometimes they don't. I just think it's kind of a glitchy system. But some show up on my phone, some show up on my laptop. So if you see it and I don't, Melissa, just call out. Okay, good. So, yeah, so whether it's blogging, whitewater rafting, traveling, downsizing, getting rid of clutter, whatever it is, ask yourself, what is stopping me from taking action on this? And move past the response that might be like, oh, because it's just going to take so much work, or it's such a big job, or I don't know where to begin, or, you know, watch for all those kind of like quick cop-out statements of, it's too big of a project. You know, I work, a friend of mine, Joan, who I worked with years ago at the magazine, would talk about, you know, any big project or big undertaking. She would say, you know, treat it like you would if you were washing an elephant, one section at a time. I don't really know what that comes from, but she used to talk about washing an elephant. So one section at a time. So Kimberly, I do have a blog, but it's been lonely lately. I think I just need to block off the time to write, 10 minutes even. Yeah. All right. So you have a blog, which is fantastic. So you just haven't written a new post in a while. So that's when you want to think about, okay, so do you have a blog topic that you've already thought of, that you just haven't written about yet? Or is that what's stopping you, that you don't have a topic or an idea of what you want to say? If you know what you want to say, or you have a topic idea, then yeah, that's when I love to use the Pomodoro Technique, that 25-minute chunk of time. So you know, eliminate all distractions, shut off your phone, no chiming emails, letting anyone who lives in your household know that you won't be available for the next 30 minutes, and you sit down to the task at hand. And the task at hand for you will be the blog post. Spend 25 minutes on that blog post. Now, as I always say, 10 or 15 minutes of that first 25 minutes might be spent on battling your resistance, which is totally fine too. Like, you can write out your resistance. You can just kind of sit there and grumble a little bit, but those 25 minutes have to be spent on your blog post in whatever form. Doesn't mean you're going to be writing the whole 25 minutes, although it could if you're feeling in that zone. But it's okay if it takes some time to get into it. As long as you devote that 25 minutes to your blog post, you are putting action behind your intention. And I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, it's the just getting started that is the biggest hurdle. And then once you're in it, much easier. So I would challenge you, Kimberly. I mean, even if it is 10 minutes, that's totally fine too. Because I think once you sit down at the keyboard and just start writing, it's going to be easier. So I want you to, even if it's a shitty first draft, like, remember, you don't have to go from nothing to a published post. So go into your blog platform, whatever you use, go in like or however you do it. I don't know if you write your post in like a Word document and then transfer it in, or write right in your blog. However you do it, commit to 25 minutes on a shitty first draft, and then take that 5-minute break at the end of the Pomodoro Technique, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, then come back and do another 25 minutes. If you don't want to come back at that particular time, come back the next day. Doesn't matter. Like, have realistic expectations around what it is you want to do. Hey, Livy! Have realistic expectations around what it is you want to do. It's going to up your chances of ever getting it done. So then it'll be less talking about it and more doing it. And the more you do it, the easier it is to keep on doing it. You know, just like we were talking about early on with working out. When you get into that routine of working out, it's easier to just keep doing it than it is to stop and start. Same thing with writing your blog post. So whatever it is that you talk a lot about but aren't taking action on, it's time to come up with small, simple steps that you can take to make that shit happen. No more talking. There really is nothing you can't do. It's just, how small do you need the steps to be broken down to make it happen? So, as we're kind of wrapping up here, I'd love for people to put in the comments here, what is one step you're going to take toward taking action on that thing that you've talked a lot about? No more living in pursuit. Let's get it done. I'm not saying it's always going to be easy. Some of the steps are going to suck. Some of them are going to be like cumbersome and annoying. But some of them are going to be so easy that you're going to be like, I can't believe I put this off as long as I did. It's always worse in our heads than it is when we do it. We make it so big in our minds. It's not that bad. Not that bad at all. So, all right. So throw it in the comments here while we're wrapping up, so I can see some commitments here. All right. Let's see. So I know Kimberly is going to do a palm round on blogging. Lisa's already signed up for her certification course, which is awesome. Hey, Sherry. Let's see. Trisha's on it with eating healthy and working out regularly, so stick with that. Food prep, nice. Cooking, love it. Okay. Good, yeah, so keep identifying for yourself what is that small step you're going to do. Look to see what the schedule is at the Oval on Wednesday and Thursday to see when they have bike rentals those nights. Awesome, Kathy. Love it. That's perfect. Lisa, signed up for my class, already booked the time in my calendar for the full 20 weeks. No excuses. That's awesome. See, that's commitment. Scheduling it out, putting it in your calendar like any other important appointment. Awesome. Kimberly, yes, I'm going to do the palm round now before my partner gets home. Perfect. Do it. Trish, committed to eating healthy and working out. Awesome, Trish. Love it. Sarah, I'm going to review that second lesson again for the blogging. I will do the palm round too. Awesome, Sarah. Do that. Do that palm round. You've been wanting to blog one small step at a time. No more talking. Now do it. Everybody do it. Awesome. This is so cool. All right, guys. Well, it was good talking with you. Let's see a couple of quick things. Sherry, congratulations on your engagement. I know I sent you text, but I wanted to say it here too. If Livy is still here, congratulations on wrapping up your college. That's my niece Olivia, who is graduating college this month. Holy shit. Oh my God. Where did the time go? Oh, that's so sweet. So sweet. Congrats all around. Awesome, guys. So keep... Yeah, Gabe. What is Gabe doing? Let's see here. Gabe. He just completed the first class for... Yeah, Gabe. Completed his first class for the associate's degree. Yeah, Gabe. Awesome. So you guys are doing so much. Like, this is the other important thing, right? Like, when you feel like you're not doing a whole lot, stop for a second and list out some of your successes. Like, what are some things that you have done in the past week? I think you'll be shocked when you can list what you've done in the past week. You have a great week too, Trish. Thanks. All right, cool. So remember, click that link in the pinned comment if you want to sign up for the Hay House World Summit. Good night, Mom. I love you. That's right. Never too late. Never too late. Sign up for my newsletter. Comes out Thursday. And we'll see you back here same time next Monday. And for any writers here, if you want to come back for the writing-focused Facebook Live, that's going to be on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And I will talk to you all next week. Same time, same channel. Thanks, Marianne. Take care, everybody. Bye.